1Password 2 Add Telemetry. Users. We want standalone non-subscription licenses. 1Password. I really wish we knew what users wanted. Users. Please don't move to Electron. I don't want Chrome bugs in my password manager. 1Password. I'm just baffled. We never hear from users. Users. Please, for the love of God, give us control over our vaults. Don't go cloud only, we're begging you. 1Password. Better turn on telemetry. It's the only way to solve this mystery for the ages.
They're focusing on the enterprise market. Those users are now what matters, because that's where the money is. Individual and family customers will still get their tier of product, but ain't no company-wide business decisions going to be catered to their whims. And particularly with standalone perpetual licenses, which I'm still clinging on to. Sync via Dropbox, share a vault with family, and another one with my small team at work. It's perfect for me. But it just doesn't work for 1Password financially. No amount of getting upset or whiny will change that. Time to get over it.
Users. The UI/UX of 1Password 7 is pretty good. We're happy. 1Password. Yeah, but we're bored. So we'll release an abomination as 1Password 8, and then spend years trying to figure out why people hate it.
Even more hilarious, I have recorded customer service events specifically stating against all three of those. I liked 1Password when it was an amazing Mac-only app. Now it's just another Electron app I can throw away and discard for different Electron app. There's nothing special about it. The problem is that I don't see any particular alternative. I don't like Bitwarden's security. Password is provided to the server to partially unlock, so a malware server or MITM could get the password, and LastPass has known issues. Edit. And standalone apps are neat and cool, but doesn't let me share the Netflix password with my family.
Over the years, we've relied on our own usage in conjunction with your feedback to inform our decision-making. This presents a challenge though. We don't know when you run into trouble unless you tell us. And sure, we have an extensive user research program, and listen to all of the feedback you share online and in conversations with our team. But there are millions of people using 1Password now, often in cool and innovative ways. If we're going to keep improving 1Password, we can no longer rely on our own usage and your direct feedback alone. I wish I were in the room when these arguments were being made. I would like to see the data that led them to this conclusion. I used to work at 1P, I was a happy user before I started working there. And I continue to be a happy user. But I can remember so many conversations about telemetry, and how we'd never use it.
But there are millions of people using 1Password now, often in cool and innovative. It's a password manager. What's cool about it? 1PWD always rubbed me the wrong way in the way they take themselves too seriously and overrate their importance. It's a password manager. They wouldn't even sync to cloud at first year, no. The more boring the better.
You can use it for a lot more than just passwords, which IMO is what makes it stand apart from Bitwarden. You can store notes, credit cards, photocopies of IDs, software licenses, key pairs, etc. You get 1 GB of storage. They really have turned it into a vault for anything digital.
Opt-out telemetry is unacceptable. This also signals that the product team has no vision, and the organization is riddled with bureaucracy. Great products get built by someone with a vision to create them. Mediocre products gets created by product managers, justifying their positions with data they've gleaned by spying on users.
100% agreement from me. People have trouble believing this, but software existed before telemetry existed. We didn't have trouble understanding where user pain points were back then, because we actually performed user studies, and offered the ability for users to provide feedback if they wanted to. The field of UX wasn't born the moment someone wrote the first telemetry library.
Telemetry in a Trust Us, this closed source application which contains all your secrets, which we provide you, and which we update periodically, is only contacting us for privacy protecting telemetry, and not exfiltration, intentionally or not, of your most sensitive of all data. Application is a hard pass for me. This seems like an IQ test kind of question. So many times error reporting etc. have accidentally leaked highly sensitive data, which was then the source of a major compromise in other systems. Maybe 1Password won't get it wrong, maybe 1Password will never be subject to any pressure to get it wrong.
Imagine for a minute that you have a hammer. This hammer is a very useful tool, and you have never had a problem with it. You don't know what is in the hammer. Could be steel, could be titanium, could be uranium. You're not a scientist. But you know that it has always worked for you. Your experience with the hammer is so positive, you would buy another hammer from the company again, without question. One day, the company that makes this hammer says that they will be updating it to automatically tell the company a bunch of information about the hammer's use, when it's used, where it's used, what the environment is like around the hammer, how many times it's used, what it's used for. They assure you that they don't care about who is using the hammer, but obviously it will be your hammer reporting the information, so at some level it will be associated with you. Why are they doing this? Well, they know that sometimes their hammers break. They only know this, though, because sometimes their hammers break for their own employees, and sometimes customers tell them hammers break. They would really like to know all the times their hammers break, though, so that can try to fix all the problems with their hammers, and not just the ones they see or get reported to them. They say this will be best for their customers, and that's why customers should be on board with the change. No one would ever buy that hammer again, right? Regardless of the privacy implications of the company knowing everything about your usage of the hammer, the company is basically saying that their hammers break so much that many of their customers don't bother telling them and just go use someone's hammer. In other words, their product is bad, and their customers don't value it enough to deal with it. Don't even get me started on paying monthly for that hammer.
I've been a 1Password customer for 5 years. The move to 1Password 8 has been beyond disastrous. Terrible extension integration, browser constantly crashing when trying to log into the web panel, and the mobile app integration hardly works with mobile browsers. Add the recent announcements that the company will no longer support their last stable version, 7, and move to using telemetry. I'm out. I've jumped to Bitwarden. Open source, cheap and competitive features. It was a no-brainer.
Seems fine to me. Opt-out is reasonable. I trust 1Password to not fuck this up, versus, say, LastPass. If you already trust 1Password to store your credentials, I see little to no impact to your risk exposure by having them collect anonymized telemetry. Curious if others have thoughts here. Their UI has changed a lot in recent years. Maybe this will enable them to make more informed design decisions so that one day grandparents stop getting lost in their horrible menus.
Opt-out is reasonable. I strongly disagree with this and think much less of companies who do it that way. That said, that battle is already lost anyway.
Opt-in is the same as not doing it at all. TFA explains their approach decently well, and it seems sane to me. It's not like this is telemetry in some open source thing for nefarious reasons. It's literally for their customers. They already know who you are. It's not like they're using this for targeted ads.
If you already trust 1Password to store your credentials. I don't, so I'm never upgrading to 1Password 8. The telemetry news only validates my decision. What I consider important in a security product, and what AgileBits considers important diverged a while ago, and that's okay, I guess.
1Password 8 definitely feels like a massive UX downgrade over v7. Though I can't put why into words.
The 1Password, no local standalone vaults. Upgrade in 7 is what got me to leave it after 15 years or so. They're killing the extensions used by Chrome, Brave, etc. in 3 months, so it became critical to move off version 7, which is probably not getting much security maintenance now either. RIP.
Telemetry to inform product decisions is fine. In fact, I think it's necessary to have confidence that software is performing in the wild, e.g. crash reporting, or that customers know how to use it. What is not okay is opt-out telemetry for personalization for advertising, or overreaching personal data collection, in 1Password's case data from your vault. There is, however, a gray area in the middle, data about the performance of product upsells. This is a tricky one, because arguably if I do upgrade, say to 1Password family teams, I've probably done so because it made sense for me, and I'm probably happier with the product, but I might not have done so without that information on how I or others use the product that helped optimize that flow. When done well, I don't have a problem with this, but I hope 1Password are careful about the culture of upsells that this data could create.
What is not okay is opt-out telemetry for personalization for advertising. Opt-out telemetry is also not okay for product decisions. It's a dark pattern that shows no respect for user privacy.
I've been a 1Password customer for many years. Their product is super solid. The family plan is very generous. I personally don't have an issue with them collecting some telemetry to improve the product. And they've stated they'll offer ways to opt out.
I'd accept making it opt-in, but opt-out is ridiculous. I can't imagine how they're going to get this passed to regulators. I love, although loved more in the past, 1Password, and have deployed it in 2 separate companies. Between this and recent UI updates, well, over the last couple of years, maybe it's time to look at alternatives.
What about anonymous logging of which buttons people click on is illegal in the EU? Citation needed on this one. That would make any dashboard that showed which API endpoints are the most popular also illegal. Anonymous telemetry is not PII. GDPR is personal data.
Anonymous telemetry is not PII. That depends. First, no data collection is anonymous when it is transmitted. Any anonymity must come later, and then is only possible if the company aggregates the data with other users and deletes the original data that was collected. PII personal data are squishy terms. In the US, anyway, the legal definitions of what counts as PII leaves out an awful lot of actual PII. So any claims that no PII is being collected is meaningless without additional explanation of what data items are being collected.
At risk of sounding dumb, what's in the telemetry data?
After taking in ridiculous amounts of money, they must figure out what features are most crucial for users, so that those features can be monetized the hardest.